I want to begin with honesty. For years I wrestled with my own mind. I prayed until my voice was hoarse. I studied until the lamps burned low and the pages blurred into dawn. I tried to force my way into a new life with discipline and willpower alone, and time after time I fell back into the same old patterns. I was the man on the pulpit speaking of faith, yet in the quiet hours I was the student of fear. I was teaching these principles, but I wasn't living them. There came a night when everything in me broke open. No choirs, no thunder, just the soft sound of water filling a glass in my kitchen at 2 a.m., and a heart so tired it finally stopped pretending to be strong. I looked at that water and understood, not with the mind but with the soul. It is not the words themselves that matter. It is the state you bring to them, the feeling, the knowing, the holy conviction that moves beneath sound. In a moment of surrender, I cupped the glass in both hands and whispered truth into the water. Not as a performance, not as a ritual to impress a distant God. I spoke as if my life depended on it, because it did. I spoke as one who is finished with wishing and ready to remember. And then I drank, slowly, deliberately, as a sacrament. That night something shifted, not out there but in here. The current of my life turned. What I discovered is disarmingly simple. The body believes what the soul declares with feeling. When the spoken word and the living water meet in faith, a circuit completes, and the subconscious receives its new law. If you are tired of trying to change and failing, if you are weary of prayers that echo and hopes that fade, stay with me. Tonight I share with you what changed everything. The practice that turned my knowledge into embodiment, my striving into ease, my pleading into peace. Take a breath. Listen closely. The secret is as close as the next glass of water. You've tried, haven't you? You've read the books, repeated the affirmations, lit the candles, whispered your prayers into the dark. You've told yourself, this time it will work. You've visualized, you've journaled, you've forced a smile through tears. And yet, when the morning comes, the same weight sits quietly on your chest. You want to believe life can change, but part of you wonders if maybe it can't. It's not that you don't believe in the law, you do. Deep down you know there's something real, something divine working behind the veil. But you've grown tired. Tired of trying so hard to feel worthy, tired of pretending faith when your heart trembles with fear, tired of telling yourself that everything happens for a reason when you can't see one. You've said the words 1,000 times, I am abundant, I am healed, I am loved, but the mirror never seems to answer back, and quietly beneath all the effort the same doubt whispers, what if it doesn't work for me? I know that feeling. I've lived it. The frustration of seeing truth with the mind but not yet with the heart. The quiet ache of wondering why the law that seems so effortless for others feels like a locked door for you. But here's what I learned. What changed everything. The law always works, but most people apply it backwards. You've been trying to think your way into new feelings, forcing belief with your thoughts, repeating words you don't yet feel. But the subconscious does not speak the language of logic. It speaks the language of emotion. It doesn't respond to the words you say. It responds to the state you are in when you say them. You can speak 1,000 affirmations from fear, and nothing will move. But whisper one word from genuine peace, and the whole universe rearranges itself. Feeling comes first. Always. The thought is just the shell, the feeling is the life within it. That's why the practice I'm about to share works so profoundly, because it bypasses thought and goes straight to the language of the subconscious: vibration, sensation, emotion. When you whisper truth into water, you're not trying to convince your mind, you're allowing your heart to feel what your mind could never reason into being. You're impressing belief not through effort, but through embodiment. So if you've been trying to think your way into peace, stop. Let's begin again, the right way around. Because once you feel truth, first thought follows like a shadow, and life bends to match it. If this message spoke to your soul, write in the comments, my words are sacred, my water remembers. It's more than a phrase, it's a declaration of trust. When you write it, you're telling the universe, I believe, I am ready. And in that moment, the universe listens. There is a law, unseen, eternal, unbreakable. It governs every prayer ever spoken, every dream ever born, every life that has ever changed. I call it the law of mind, or what my teacher once called the law of assumption, the principle that whatever you assume to be true with feeling must take form in your world, not sometimes, not for a chosen few. Always. Your subconscious mind, that quiet power beneath thought, does not argue, reason, or analyze. It simply accepts as truth whatever you consistently feel to be real. And then, through ways unseen, it moves heaven and earth to express that inner image as outer fact. That is the entire secret of life, hidden in plain sight. You are not punished by circumstances. You are shaped by conviction. For over 40 years, I've watched this law work in every corner of human experience. I've seen a mother heal her dying child with nothing but faith. I've seen a man rise from poverty to abundance through quiet nightly prayer. I've seen broken hearts restored, doors open where walls once stood, all through one invisible force, feeling realized as fact. The subconscious is creative, obedient, and literal. It responds not to words but to vibration, to the emotional state behind the words. That is why saying I am rich in fear creates more lack, and saying I am loved in doubt creates more longing. You cannot plant roses while feeling the thorns, but here lies the revelation, a bridge so simple most overlook it. The physical can teach the metaphysical. When your mind, your body, and your emotion act in harmony, belief takes root effortlessly. The ancient mystics knew this. They touched symbols, lit candles, poured libations, not as superstition but as a way to anchor the invisible in the visible. And that is what the water does. When you speak truth into water and drink it, you create a complete circuit of belief. The word, your divine command, leaves your lips. The emotion, your faith, vibrates through every cell. And the body, the vessel, receives it as living memory. It is no coincidence that every spiritual tradition speaks of water, the river of life, the baptism of renewal, the fountain of truth. Water is consciousness made visible. It takes the shape of whatever contains it, just as consciousness takes the shape of whatever you assume. You are not talking to water. You are talking to yourself, to that deeper, infinite part of you that listens without words. When you whisper into it, you are saying, "This is who I am now." And when you drink it, you are saying, "I accept this truth into my being." It is not the act itself that creates the miracle. It is the alignment the act produces, thought, feeling, and body moving as one current, that is creation in motion, that is the divine law at work. So tonight, as we continue, remember this: your world does not respond to your desires. It responds to your state. And through this sacred practice, you will learn not just to think differently, but to feel differently. And when feeling changes, everything does. She was dying. That's what the doctors said. Her name was Evelyn, a quiet woman with silver hair and soft eyes that had seen too much pain. The hospital room smelled faintly of antiseptic and wilted flowers. Machines hummed softly beside her bed, marking time and blinking lights. She had made peace, or so she said. Her children had stopped asking questions. The doctor spoke in careful tones, using words like palliative and comfortable. But one night, as she lay awake listening to the rhythm of her own breath, something surfaced from long ago. A memory. She saw, as clearly as if it were yesterday, her grandmother standing by an old wooden sink in a farmhouse kitchen. She remembered the way the woman's hands cupped the water before every meal, whispering softly, "Thank you, my child, for remembering who you are." Back then, Evelyn had thought it strange, talking to water. She had laughed. But that night, in the shadow of her own mortality, the memory came back not as superstition but as a kind of invitation. The next morning, when the nurse left the room, she asked for a glass of water. Her hands trembled as she held it. The surface rippled in the dim light. She felt foolish at first, but something deeper, something older, moved her to speak. Barely above a whisper, she said, "Every cell in my body remembers wholeness. I am life itself." The first day she felt nothing. The second day the same, but she kept doing it. Each morning, each night, the nurses thought it was a coping ritual, and in a way it was, but not the way they thought. In the first week, her voice grew stronger. She began to look forward to those moments. The stillness before she drank. Something was changing, not yet in her body, but in her mind. The fear that once filled every corner of her thoughts began to fade, replaced by a quiet certainty she couldn't explain. By the third week, the doctors noticed her color returning. Her blood work began to shift, slightly at first, then dramatically. They ordered more tests, thinking there had been a mistake. There wasn't. Day by day, she kept whispering into the water, not pleading anymore, but declaring. Her words evolved. "I am whole. I am radiant. I am one with divine life. And every time she said them, she could feel the truth a little deeper, like a song remembered note by note. 3 months later, she walked out of that hospital without a single prescription. No one could explain it. The doctors shrugged. The nurses cried. Her children called it a miracle. But Evelyn didn't. She smiled and said, "They call it a miracle. I call it truth." Because by then she understood. It wasn't the water that healed her. It was the consciousness she poured into it. She had stopped seeing her body as broken and started seeing it as obedient, a living servant of divine intelligence. Her cells were only responding to the new command, the new belief impressed upon the subconscious through faith and feeling. The same water that once reflected fear now carried the vibration of wholeness. And as she drank it, she wasn't just nourishing her body, she was teaching her subconscious what to believe again. That is how the law works. It's never the ritual, never the words, never the outer form. It is the alignment that occurs when belief, emotion, and action become one. Evelyn didn't attract healing. She became the state of health, and reality had no choice but to reflect it. And that is the truth behind every so-called miracle. When the inner world changes, the outer must follow, always. As she later told me, with that same gentle smile, the water never healed me. It just helped me remember who I already was. His name was Samuel. When I first met him, he was sitting alone at the back of a small lecture hall in Chicago. Shoulders hunched, eyes dull, hands rough from labor. The kind of man who carried the quiet exhaustion of years spent surviving, not living. He waited until everyone else had gone before approaching me. I remember the way he clutched his hat in his hands as if it were the last thing he owned. In truth, it nearly was. He told me about the debts that never stopped growing, about the wife who had lost faith in his promises, about the nights he lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer he could keep pretending he had control. His voice cracked when he said, "I've tried everything, Dr. Murphy. I've worked hard my whole life, but it's as if something invisible is holding me down." I looked at him for a long moment and said softly, "Samuel, it's not something holding you down, it's something inside you asking to be lifted." He didn't understand at first. Few do. But he listened as I told him about the law of mind, that wealth is not a thing to chase, but a state to embody. I explained the practice, the power of speaking truth into water, the alignment of word, feeling, and faith. That night he went home to a one-room apartment with a single glass on the counter. He filled it, sat in the silence, and whispered words that felt like lies at first. "I am abundance. Money flows to me easily and constantly." He told me later that the first time he said it, he laughed. "It felt ridiculous," he said. "I didn't even have enough to pay the gas bill," but he kept doing it. Every morning before work, every night before bed, he spoke to that water, not begging for change, but learning to believe that he was the change. At first, nothing happened. Weeks passed. The bills still came. The doubts still whispered. But then something subtle shifted, not in his bank account, but in his heart. He began to walk differently. He stood taller, spoke more confidently, smiled more often. His coworkers noticed. One day, his supervisor, a man who had barely looked at him before, asked for his help on a new project. It led to a small raise, then a larger one. Then, a client offered him freelance work on the side. Opportunities began to appear where before there had only been struggle. Doors opened that logic couldn't explain. He didn't force them. They found him. And through it all, he never missed his ritual. Every night he'd fill the same glass, place it on the table, and whisper with a calm he had never known, "I am abundance. Money flows to me easily and constantly." 6 months later, the man who once trembled under the weight of debt had not only paid every bill, he had savings. His wife, once weary and distant, began to smile again. Their home was filled with laughter, and something richer than money returned to his life: peace. When he came to see me again, his eyes were bright, his hands were steady. "Dr. Murphy," he said, "I finally understand what you meant. I wasn't attracting money, I was becoming prosperity itself. You see, that is the secret the world misses. Money is not a reward, it's a reflection. You cannot chase abundance and expect it to stay. You must become the state from which it naturally flows. When you feel rich in spirit, grateful in heart, and aligned in faith, the outer world mirrors that vibration as opportunity, synchronicity, and success." Samuel didn't manifest wealth through luck. He aligned his inner assumption, I am abundance, with the law of the subconscious. And when the subconscious believes something to be true, life must rearrange itself to match it. That is how it works. Always. Not through effort, but through identity. He stopped seeing himself as a poor man trying to get rich, and started seeing himself as divine supply in motion, and the universe responded. Because the truth is simple, but few are ready to live it. You don't create prosperity, you remember it. You stop fighting for the light and realize you are the light, shining through the form called abundance. There comes a point, even for a teacher, when the words stop working. I had spent years lecturing on divine law, preaching faith, affirmations, and the power of the subconscious mind. My audiences nodded, took notes, applauded. They believed I had mastered it. But when I returned home at night, to the quiet of my own thoughts, I felt hollow. My teachings filled others, but they no longer filled me. It began subtly, a restlessness, a creeping doubt. Then, as the months passed, it became a shadow that followed me everywhere. I could speak about abundance while secretly fearing lack. I could teach about peace while waking in the dark, my heart pounding for no reason I could name. There were nights I sat alone at my desk, staring at old manuscripts, the ink of my own certainty dried and distant. I began to wonder if I had lost what first called me to this work. And then came the breaking point. It was a quiet evening, too quiet, the kind of silence that presses against you. I felt the weight of every unanswered prayer, every student who looked to me for guidance when I barely believed myself anymore. I remember whispering into the stillness, God, what have I forgotten? No answer came, just the sound of the rain outside, soft against the window. I went to the kitchen for water, not to perform a ritual, but because my throat felt dry, the kind of dryness that comes from too many words and not enough truth. I filled a glass, and as I looked down at it, something inside me broke open. It wasn't memory, exactly. It was knowing, the kind that doesn't come from thought but from the soul. I remembered what I had told others so many times before. When you speak truth into water and drink it, you create a complete circuit of belief. I had given that wisdom away, but I had forgotten to use it for myself. So there in the dim light of my kitchen, I decided to begin again, not as a teacher but as a student of my own heart. I lifted the glass and whispered softly, almost afraid to hear my own voice. I am transformed. I am worthy. I am enough. The first night, nothing happened. The second, nothing again. But I kept at it, not with desperation, but with quiet persistence. Morning and night, the same 3 phrases, spoken with as much sincerity as I could summon. By the second week, something began to shift. Not in my circumstances, they remained the same, but in the way I saw myself. The inner noise began to soften. The fear, that old familiar companion, started to lose its hold. After 30 days, peace no longer visited, it stayed. I began to feel a strength that didn't come from ego or control, but from surrender. The kind of peace that doesn't need proof. By 90 days, my entire inner landscape had changed. My body felt lighter, my mind clear, my work flowed again, but this time it wasn't performance, it was prayer. I didn't have to try to inspire anymore. The words poured through me like water through an open stream. People around me noticed. They said I looked younger, calmer. My lectures began to fill again, but I taught differently now, not from knowledge but from experience. And when someone would ask, Dr. Murphy, what changed? I would smile and say, it wasn't magic, it was alignment. Alignment with the truth that had always been there, that the divine does not respond to force or striving but to surrender. That every time I whispered those words into the water, I wasn't commanding God, I was remembering Him within me. The law had never failed me. I had simply forgotten how to feel it, and now I knew. I didn't need to fight for peace, to chase abundance, to prove faith. I only needed to remember what I had always been, worthy enough, transformed. Because when the teacher remembers, he is still the student, the lessons return in full power, and when the soul stops searching for God outside, it finds Him waiting, quietly within. Let us go deeper now. You have heard me speak of law, not a law of man, but of mind. It is older than time, older than scripture, older even than language itself. It is the law that governs creation, the unseen process through which the invisible becomes visible, the unformed becomes form, and thought becomes world. The ancients called it many names. Today, we call it the subconscious mind. Imagine, if you will, the subconscious as fertile soil. It does not choose what to grow. It does not judge the seed as good or bad. It simply receives and it multiplies whatever is planted. If you sow seeds of love, it yields joy. If you sow seeds of fear, it yields trouble. If you sow seeds of wealth, it yields opportunity. If you sow seeds of doubt, it yields delay. That is the divine neutrality of the law. It cannot fail you. It can only mirror you. The conscious mind, on the other hand, is the sower, the thinker, the selector, the one who decides what seed to cast. But it is not enough to merely think a seed into the soil. You must feel it there. This is the part most people misunderstand. They believe that because they repeat words, the law will obey. But words alone are empty husks, unless they are filled with emotion. The subconscious responds not to logic, but to feeling. You can tell yourself, "I am happy," while vibrating with sadness, and the subconscious, ever obedient, will say, "Very well. You are sadness in motion." You can whisper, "I am wealthy," while feeling fear of loss, and the subconscious will continue to bring you lack, for that is the vibration you have impressed upon it. This is why affirmations for so many seem to fail. It is not that the law stops working. It is that the feeling contradicts the word. Feeling is faith. That is the secret Joseph, the prophets, the mystics, the saints, all tried to tell us. Feeling is not a reaction to what is seen. It is the creative act that shapes what will be seen. When you feel something deeply, truly, with the full conviction of your being, you are speaking the only language the subconscious understands. It hears in vibration, not vocabulary. Words are vibrations of creation. Each syllable you speak carries frequency, a resonance that moves through your body, through your nervous system, into the unseen field of mind itself. That is why spoken prayer has power, not because of the sound, but because of the feeling the sound awakens. And this brings us to the mystery of water. For centuries, mystics and healers have known what science is only beginning to rediscover, that water is consciousness made visible. It remembers. It receives. It responds. Every molecule dances to the rhythm of vibration, mirroring the energy of the words and emotions that surround it. When you whisper truth into water, you are not performing magic. You are performing memory. You are imprinting vibration into the most receptive substance on earth, a substance that already makes up more than 70% of your own body. The moment you drink that water, you complete a divine circuit. The word leaves your lips, the vibration travels through the body, and the emotion, the faith, impresses the subconscious in full unity. This is why I call the practice a sacrament, not a superstition. It is the meeting point of heaven and earth, mind and matter, spirit and form. Through the physical act, the invisible becomes tangible. Through the tangible, belief becomes embodiment. You could think of it as divine electricity. The conscious mind generates the charge through intention and thought. The subconscious receives the charge through feeling, and the water conducts it, carrying belief through the body until every cell hums with the same frequency. That is what happened with Evelyn, with Samuel, with me, and with countless others who have practiced this law in earnest. It was never the water itself that healed, prospered, or transformed. It was the vibration of faith made visible through matter. Water simply became the messenger of consciousness. It gave form to belief. You see, belief cannot remain abstract. It must become embodied, sensed, lived, felt. That is why so many people pray and yet never experience change. Their faith stays trapped in the mind, never descending into the body. But when you hold the water in your hands, when you whisper truth into it, when you feel it, your whole being participates. The prayer is no longer a thought. It becomes life in motion. And once that happens, manifestation is no longer a question of if or when. It is inevitable. Because law responds perfectly every time to the vibration of belief. And when your word, your emotion, and your body move together as one, there is no resistance left. It is not magic. It is divine mechanics, the sacred science of the soul. So remember this: feeling is faith. Words are the vibrations of creation. Water is consciousness made visible. And when all three align, you become what you speak. You drink your own truth. You embody your own prayer. That is the secret the ancients guarded and the modern mind forgets, the creative power of alignment, the eternal law of mind. Since the beginning of time, humanity has bowed before water, not out of fear, but reverence. Every sacred text, every ancient culture has spoken of it in some form. The baptismal river of Christianity, the Ganges, holy and eternal in India, the purifying waters of the Nile, the Jordan, the springs of Delphi. Even the earliest shamans knew water remembers. Why? Because water is not just matter, it is metaphor, it is consciousness made visible. It is the mirror of the unseen. When I began to study both scripture and science, I realized something extraordinary. The mystics and the physicists were speaking of the same truth, only in different tongues. The mystic said water holds the spirit. The scientist said water holds information, and both were right. For water, like consciousness, takes the shape of its container. It does not resist. It reflects. It does not judge. It receives. It does not force. It flows. Pour it into a glass, and it becomes the glass. Pour it into the ocean, and it becomes the ocean. Pour it into you, and it becomes you. And so it is with consciousness. Whatever idea you pour into it, whatever belief you hold within it, consciousness takes its shape. If you fill it with fear, it becomes fear. If you fill it with peace, it becomes peace. If you fill it with divine recognition, it becomes God in motion. This is the hidden meaning behind every ritual of purification, every baptism, every holy spring. The ancients weren't merely washing the body, they were washing the mind. They were reminding themselves of a truth. The modern world has almost forgotten that to cleanse one's life, you must first cleanse one's consciousness. When you speak truth into water, you are not just practicing a method, you are participating in an ancient rite. You are reenacting the baptism of consciousness, the union of spirit and form, because when your word becomes vibration and vibration meets water, you are marrying the invisible to the visible. You are consecrating your body, which is mostly water, as a living temple of divine thought. And as you drink, you are not simply hydrating your cells. You are sanctifying them. You are allowing divine intelligence to circulate through every fiber of your being, reminding each molecule that it is made of light, not limitation. Even modern science, hesitant as it may be to utter the word spirit, has begun to confirm what mystics always knew. Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments revealed that water exposed to words of love formed exquisite crystalline patterns, while words of hate produced chaos and distortion. Of course, the skeptics argue about methods, about replication, about measurement. But the truth cannot be confined to microscopes. You can feel it. You can sense it when you hold a glass of water in your hands and whisper something sacred into it. The silence changes. The atmosphere hums. Because vibration is the language of the universe, and water, pure, receptive, eternal, is the universe's most fluent listener. When you understand this, you begin to see that the practice is not about manipulating energy or performing ritual for ritual's sake. It is about union, the unity of mind and body, of science and spirituality, of thought and form. When you speak truth into water, you are acknowledging what both mystics and quantum physicists agree on, that there is no true boundary between observer and observed, that your consciousness is not contained within your skull, but woven into the fabric of everything you touch, taste, and see. You are not separate from creation, you are creation remembering itself, and water, humble and clear, becomes the perfect mirror for that realization. It bends, it flows, it reflects, it heals, just as consciousness does when freed from resistance. So when you next lift that glass to your lips, know this: you are not merely drinking water, you are drinking remembrance. You are drinking alignment. You are drinking the divine substance that has carried every river, every ocean, every tear, and every prayer since the beginning of time. And through it, the law, eternal, invisible, and perfect, flows once more through you. Let me now take you from understanding to practice, because knowledge without embodiment is like a seed never planted, full of promise, but fruitless. I will show you exactly how to perform this sacred act so that it becomes more than a concept, it becomes living power. This is not ritual for superstition's sake, it is ritual for remembrance, because the soul learns through repetition, rhythm, and reverence. Here is how I practiced it, and how you can too. First, prepare the water. Morning and night are the two gateways of consciousness. When the veil between your conscious and subconscious mind is thinnest, choose these sacred hours just after waking and just before sleep. Take a simple glass of clean water. Hold it gently in your hands. Feel its coolness, its stillness, its life. Remember that water, like consciousness, is already alive, waiting to take the shape of your intention. Breathe deeply. 3 slow, deliberate breaths. With each inhale, let go of noise. With each exhale, release doubt. You are not rushing. You are entering a temple. Now whisper your truth. Whisper it softly, not from your throat, but from your heart. Say your chosen declaration 3 times. If your body is weak, whisper every cell of my being is radiant with health. If your finances are burdened, whisper money flows to me easily and constantly. If you seek love or reconciliation, whisper I am surrounded by divine love and peace. If your purpose feels lost, whisper I am guided, I am chosen, I am clear. If you simply wish for peace, whisper I rest in divine harmony, all is well. Do not repeat them mechanically. Feel each word as if it were already true, because in the realm of mind it is already true. Remember, you are not talking to water, you are talking to your own consciousness. You are using water as the mirror through which your inner voice becomes visible. The 3rd step, feel it true. This is where the magic, or rather the law, begins to operate. Close your eyes. Imagine what it would feel like if your words had already manifested. If your body were already healed, how would you breathe? If your debts were already cleared, how would you stand? If your heart were already whole, how would you smile? Let that feeling fill you completely. Don't chase emotion. Allow it to rise naturally. The water will remember. Your subconscious will record it. Now drink slowly. Do not gulp, sip as though each drop were sacred nectar. Because it is. As the water touches your lips, say silently, this is truth entering me. As it moves through your body, imagine it carrying your declaration to every cell, every atom, every hidden corner of your being. You are not merely hydrating, you are baptizing yourself in divine remembrance. Every sip is a whisper from the universe saying, it is done. Finally, give thanks. Gratitude seals the circuit. It tells the subconscious this is complete. After finishing, close your eyes again and say, thank you, divine intelligence, for fulfilling this through me now. Do not hope. Do not question. Do not look for signs. No. Faith is quiet knowing. Make this a daily rhythm, morning and night, for 90 days. That's 3 months of sacred consistency. Do not count the days. Let the days count you. Over time, something remarkable happens. The words stop feeling like affirmations and start feeling like truth. The effort dissolves and the water becomes pure remembrance. You will begin to feel guidance. Spontaneous, effortless ideas, coincidences that are no coincidence. You'll sense the flow of something higher moving through you, the same divine intelligence that governs oceans, stars, and the beating of your own heart. Remember, my friend, you are not commanding the universe to change. You are allowing yourself to remember that you are part of its perfection. This practice is not about manipulating matter. It is about recognizing that all matter, all water, all life is mind in motion. Each morning, you speak creation into being. Each night, you drink faith into your bones. And one day you will look back and realize the words you whispered into water have become your life. Not because you begged for change, but because you finally believed in the truth that was always yours. Feeling, word, water. When all 3 are one, you are no longer the seeker, you are the creator remembering itself. Now that you know the practice, let us go deeper into mastery. Because every sacred discipline has its subtleties, its hidden edges where even the sincere may stumble. You see, most people fail not because the law doesn't work, but because they forget how it works. They treat divine principle as though it were a vending machine. Insert enough affirmations, press a button, and expect results. But the law of mind is not mechanical. It is organic. It is the soil of the soul, alive, intelligent, responsive. So let me show you the common traps and how to move beyond them. The first mistake is mechanical repetition. Some people speak their affirmations as though reciting a grocery list. Dry, hurried, distracted. They say the words but never feel them. They whisper truth without allowing it to touch the heart. Remember this always. The subconscious does not respond to words. It responds to the vibration behind them. You could repeat, I am abundant, 1,000 times a day. But if you do so with fear, with doubt, with that quiet ache of disbelief underneath, you are planting weeds, not roses. Instead, say it once, with conviction, with tenderness, with peace. Let the words be alive. When you say, I am prosperous, feel what prosperity would feel like in your bones, calm, secure, expansive. When you say, I am healed, feel the health already present in you, humming quietly beneath your skin. A single word spoken with faith is more powerful than 1,000 spoken from habit. The second mistake is inconsistency. Many begin this practice full of enthusiasm, only to stop when results do not appear immediately. They say it's not working after 3 days. They forget the divine law works with perfect precision but on its own rhythm, not ours. The subconscious mind is like rich soil. When the farmer plants his seeds, he does not dig them up every morning to see if they're growing. He trusts the process. He waters, he waits, he knows. Faith is the same. Once you have spoken your word and sealed it with feeling, you must trust it to grow unseen. That means not contradicting it later with worry. Do not affirm abundance in the morning and then speak of scarcity by noon. Do not whisper healing at night and then claim sickness at dawn. Each time you do, you're planting new seeds in the same soil. Confusion for the subconscious, contradiction for creation. Be steady, be simple, be faithful. The third mistake is doubt disguised as control. You will know this by the restless urge to check if it's working, to look for signs, to measure progress, to demand proof. But true power works in stillness, not struggle. You cannot force a flower to bloom by shouting at it. The greatest results come not from tension but from release. You must practice the art of letting go while believing. Once you've spoken truth into water, trust that the law has heard you, because it always has. You've set creation in motion. You need not interfere. The miracle will come in its own perfect time, perhaps through a sudden opportunity, perhaps through a change in emotion, perhaps through a quiet, ordinary moment that transforms everything. But it will come. And the fourth mistake is forgetting to carry the feeling through the day. Your morning and evening rituals are the planting. Your waking hours are the tending. Do not leave your feeling on the pillow. Carry it with you, softly, like a fragrance. When you walk, walk as one who has already received. When you work, work as one who knows all things are unfolding in divine order. When you speak, let your words harmonize with the truth you've already declared. That is how you keep the soil warm, fertile, and ready for harvest. Let this be your rhythm. Speak your word with sincerity. Feel it as truth. Release it with gratitude. Live as if it's already so. That is the posture of the master. That is alignment. That is what turns whisper into wonder. Remember, the law never fails. Only our faith wavers. And every time it does, all you must do is return to the breath, to the water, to the word. Say softly again, I am. And because I am, it is done. Then smile, and let the universe take care of the rest. Change doesn't come like lightning. It comes like dawn, slow, soft, inevitable. And so it is with this practice. The transformation unfolds not in days of effort, but in seasons of faith. 90 days, that is the journey. 3 moons, 3 passages of becoming. Let me walk you through it, so that when your heart begins to doubt, you'll recognize where you are on the path. Weeks 1 and 2, the spark of enthusiasm. This is the beginning, the honeymoon of awakening. You've just discovered the sacred art of whispering truth into water, and every moment feels charged with possibility. You feel the pulse of newness, that electric sense that the universe is listening, and it is. You speak your words with reverence. You drink with purpose. You go to sleep smiling, sensing change already in the air. You begin to notice synchronicities. A kind word from a stranger, an unexpected check, a moment of peace that feels like a sign. This is the law responding to your new vibration. The soil is freshly turned, ready to receive your seeds. Enjoy this stage, but remember, it is only the beginning. Weeks 3 and 4, the desert. This is where most give up. The novelty fades. The mind begins to question. You whisper your affirmations, but they feel hollow. The water seems still, the silence heavy. You wonder, is anything happening? It is. You just can't see it yet. What you call silence is the sound of roots growing in the dark. What looks like nothing happening is the seed breaking open. The subconscious is being restructured. Old beliefs dissolving, new ones taking root. It feels uncomfortable, even lonely, because part of you is dying and another part is being born. This is not failure. This is gestation. When you feel tempted to quit, remember the farmer. He does not dig up the seed to check if it's sprouting. He trusts the law of growth. He waters. He waits. He knows. And so must you. Keep going. Whisper even when you feel nothing. Drink even when your faith wavers. Because every word, every sip, every breath of trust is reshaping you from within. Weeks 5 and 6, the first sprouts. Suddenly something shifts. Not always dramatically. Sometimes it's a subtle lightness in your chest. A morning where you wake without the old heaviness. You begin to notice coincidences, unexpected messages, new ideas that seem to arrive from nowhere. You feel a soft current moving beneath your days. Not loud, not demanding, just steady. This is the law responding to your consistency. Your subconscious has begun to accept your new identity as truth. Perhaps you see small changes in your outer world, a bill paid unexpectedly, a long-held worry dissolving, a new opportunity arising. But more importantly, you feel a change inside. Peace no longer needs proof. Faith no longer feels like effort. You begin to understand that manifestation isn't something you do, it's something you allow. Month 3. The natural state. By now, the practice is no longer a ritual, it is a rhythm. You don't force yourself to do it, you look forward to it. You hold the glass of water and feel the same quiet power that once felt foreign. You speak the words not as a wish, but as a fact. You no longer search for signs. Life itself has become the sign. Everything begins to flow. Conversations open doors. Ideas turn into opportunities. Health, peace, and prosperity move through you effortlessly, because they are now you. This is the point of return, the place where the seeker becomes the master. You have not just learned the law, you have become it. Your subconscious no longer resists the truth. It expresses it automatically. Faith is no longer an act, it is your state of being. And when people look at you and say, "You've changed," you will smile and say, "No, I've remembered." This is the journey of 90 days, from excitement to emptiness, from emptiness to emergence, from emergence to embodiment. And if you ever wonder where you are in that cycle, remember this truth: what looks like nothing happening is the seed breaking open. Trust that silence. That's where the miracle begins. There's something I never told my students, at least not then. For years, I lived with a quiet contradiction. Outwardly, I was the teacher, the preacher, the man of faith. My books were selling, my lectures were full, and my name was whispered in circles of metaphysical study across the world. And yet, there were nights I sat alone in my study, the pages of my own words opened before me, feeling like a fraud. I had written about abundance while quietly fearing lack. I had spoken of divine health while my own body trembled under fatigue and anxiety. I had told others that faith moves mountains, yet in the silence of my own heart I could not move the smallest stone of self-doubt. It was one of the most humbling seasons of my life. The moment when the teacher realizes that knowledge, without embodiment, is hollow. I remember saying to myself one night, "Joseph, you know the truth, but you do not live it." That realization cut deep, because I had spent my life collecting truth like rare coins, precious, gleaming, and untouched, but I had never spent it. So I began again. I cleared my desk of the books and theories, the notes and lectures, and placed only a glass of water before me. I whispered the same words I had taught others to say: "I am transformed, I am worthy, I am enough." 3 times, morning and night, every day. At first I felt nothing, no surge of energy, no mystical vision, only stillness. And in that stillness, a kind of honesty I hadn't known before. I stayed with it. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. By the 3rd month, I noticed I was sleeping through the night, something I hadn't done in years. By the 4th, my lectures began to flow again, not as rehearsed performances but as living transmissions. Words poured from me like water, effortless and sure. By the 5th, people began to say my presence felt different, that just being near me brought them peace. And by the 6th month, I understood what had truly changed. Me, the same mind that once strained to believe had become a channel of effortless knowing. The same voice that once tried to teach truth now spoke it as natural law. I realized that I had not simply learned a method, I had become the method. I was no longer a man talking about divine law, I was a man living as divine law in expression. That is the difference between knowing and embodying, between speaking truth and being truth. When you embody it, You no longer chase miracles, they follow you. You no longer seek signs, you are the sign. I used to teach that the subconscious mind responds to belief. Now I teach that the subconscious mind is belief. And the moment belief and being become one, heaven and earth meet. So when people ask me now, Dr. Murphy, what's the greatest discovery you ever made? I smile and I tell them the truth. I learned not from study but from surrender. That I was never meant to command truth, I was meant to become it, because in that becoming, every promise of the divine law fulfills itself naturally. And so I say it now to you as I once said to myself in the quiet glow of my desk lamp. I was no longer teaching the truth, I had become it. Doubt often comes dressed as logic. It whispers, you're just imagining things, you're lying to yourself. It tells you that this practice, this whispering of truth into water, is nothing more than self-deception. But let me tell you something. You are not fooling yourself. You are unfooling yourself. For too long you have believed the world's illusions. You have believed that matter is master, that outer circumstances dictate inner truth. You have believed that luck, chance, and effort rule your destiny. That not this is the real deception. The purpose of this work is not to blind you to reality, but to open your eyes to a higher one, a reality where consciousness is the only cause, and the outer world is simply its echo. Everything you see, your finances, your relationships, your health, your environment, is old consciousness. They are yesterday's thoughts clothed in form. They are the visible residue of what you once believed to be true. Your current life is not punishment. It is proof. It shows you what you have impressed upon the subconscious up to this moment. And that is why the law is so merciful, because the instant you change the inner pattern, the outer must follow. Belief then is not pretending something is true. It is knowing that truth precedes appearance. Faith is not blind optimism. It is spiritual eyesight, the ability to perceive the unseen reality that is even now forming beneath the surface of things. When you speak your new truth into water, you are not covering over lies with pretty words. You are reprogramming the instrument that creates worlds, your own consciousness. What appears as imagination today becomes experience tomorrow. That is not superstition, it is law. The scientist may call it quantum resonance. The psychologist may call it self-suggestion. The mystic may call it divine creation. But all are describing the same process, consciousness becoming form. So when the mind says this isn't real, smile and answer gently, it is not real yet, but it will be. For the invisible always precedes the visible, and belief is simply your willingness to stand in that invisible until the visible bows to it. Your doubts do not disprove the law, they only reveal where you have not yet remembered it. So bless your doubts, they show you where to bring light. Every master, every prophet, every awakened soul walked through the same valley of disbelief before realizing that reality is not something to be observed. It is something to be created, and that creation begins the moment you choose a new feeling, a new assumption, a new word spoken with faith, because faith is not a leap into illusion, it is a return to truth, and truth once felt, once known, once embodied rewrites the world itself. This moment is for the ones who have carried pain too long, for those who have loved and lost, for those who have been told they are too much or not enough, for those whose prayers once turned to silence, and whose hearts learn to whisper only to themselves. If that is you, breathe. You are safe here. I want you to hear me now. Not with your ears, but with your soul. You are not broken. You are remembering your wholeness. Every scar, every wound, every ache you've ever carried was never proof of your weakness. It was proof of your depth. Because only something eternal can survive the weight of time and still long to love again. You may have thought you were shattered, but nothing that is divine can ever truly break. You only forgot who you were for a little while. Now we remember, together. Close your eyes. If you can, hold a glass of water in your hands, or imagine one before you. See the surface of it still and luminous, like a mirror reflecting your inner world. This water is not ordinary. It is consciousness, alive, listening, ready to cleanse. Now whisper softly, or simply think these words with me. I release the pain of the past. I let go of what I could not change. I forgive myself, and I forgive those who did not know better. I am free. As you say it, imagine the water shimmering with light, a soft, silvery glow swirling through it like liquid starlight. That light is the remembrance of your divine nature, untouched, untainted, whole. Now imagine every old memory, every heaviness in your chest, every regret or wound you've hidden away, gently rising from within you and dissolving into that light, not to erase your past but to transmute it, to take what was once pain and turn it into wisdom, compassion, strength. You can feel the release, the way your body exhales when the spirit begins to forgive. You are not running from the past, you are baptizing it in understanding. Now, when you're ready, lift the water to your lips. Drink slowly. As it enters your body, imagine it carrying that same light through every cell, every memory, every part of you that once felt unworthy of love. And know this truth: you deserve freedom, not because you earned it, but because you are divine. Your worth is not conditional, it is inherent. It was never lost, only forgotten under layers of fear and shame. And tonight, those layers are melting away. Every drop of that water is reminding your body, I am safe, I am forgiven, I am whole. Let the tears come if they need to. Tears are the soul's way of making room for light. You are not your wounds. You are the awareness that remains after the wounds have healed. You are the silence after the storm. Calm, infinite, sacred. And from this silence, new life begins to flow again. So say it softly, and let it echo through your being. I am whole. I am light. I am free, because you are. You always were. Discipline is love in motion. It is faith made visible through repetition. And in this work, in the sacred science of transformation, persistence is everything. Anyone can believe for a moment, but to believe again and again and again, even when the world shows you nothing, that is the mark of one who truly understands divine law. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The law is perfect, but it requires your consistency. Do this practice for 90 days. Without interruption, without doubt, morning and night. Not because the water demands it, but because your consciousness does. You are reprogramming a mind that has been trained for years, even decades, to live in fear, to expect struggle, to seek proof before belief. That conditioning does not dissolve in a day. It softens through rhythm. Every repetition is a brush stroke painting a new identity. Every whisper is a signal to the subconscious. This is who I am now. Every sip is a baptism in your new self. So be patient, be steady, be unwavering. There will be nights when you are tired, days when you forget why you began, moments when the voice of doubt tries to pull you back into the old life. When that happens, stop, breathe, return to the water, return to the word, because each time you do, you strengthen the neural and spiritual pathways that lead to freedom. Each repetition makes faith more natural, until faith itself becomes your resting state. This is not blind obedience. It is spiritual training. You are teaching the body to relax into belief. You are teaching the subconscious to listen to the voice of truth. So tonight I invite you to make a decision, not a wish, not a maybe, but a decision. Say to yourself, out loud if you can, for the next 90 days I commit to remembering who I am. That declaration alone has power. It tells the universe that you are ready to participate in your own creation. Because the universe does not respond to hesitation, it responds to conviction. And once you make that choice, everything around you begins to conspire with it. Make the decision tonight, not tomorrow, not someday, tonight. Let this be the night you cross the threshold from knowing to doing, from doing to being, from being to becoming. And when those 90 days are complete, you will not only see change, you will be change. You will look back and realize that every whisper, every sip, every moment of persistence was not you reaching for the divine, it was the divine patiently reaching back through you. There is one final truth, the golden thread that weaves through everything I have taught you. Stop waiting to feel better when things change. Feel better now and things will change. That is the law in its purest form. Not philosophy, not poetry, but physics of the soul. Because creation does not begin with results, it begins with states of being. The world around you is not happening to you, it is responding through you. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. That is why this practice is not about asking or wishing. It is about being it now. Every morning and night, as you whisper truth into water, you are not saying, I hope this will happen. You are saying, this is who I am. You are embodying the end result before the evidence appears. You are teaching your subconscious that the miracle is not coming, the miracle is already here. When you hold the feeling of fulfillment in the present, you collapse the distance between desire and realization, because in the realm of consciousness there is no future, only now. This is what the mystics meant when they said, "Pray believing that you have received, and you shall receive." They were describing the secret of the divine mind, the assumption of the wish fulfilled. When you feel it is done, the universe reorganizes itself to match that vibration. You become like an actor who has stepped so deeply into the role that the performance disappears. There is only the character, living truth. And in that embodiment, the outer world must adjust to the new identity you have assumed. This is the bridge between faith and form, between desire and destiny. You are no longer the one seeking healing. You are health in expression. No longer the one chasing abundance. You are prosperity made visible. No longer the one hoping for peace. You are peace itself, walking the earth. That is living from the end. That is the state of consciousness that makes prayer scientific and manifestation inevitable. So tonight, as you close your eyes, do not ask for what you wish to be. Feel yourself as already being it. See yourself healed. See yourself loved. See yourself whole, successful, radiant, and at peace. Let that feeling become your dwelling place, not something you visit, but something you live in. And from that place, say softly, "It is done. It has always been done," because the divine within you never struggles. It simply knows. And when you know as the divine knows, creation obeys. Listen closely now, because this is the moment it all returns to where it began. The circle closes, the truth unveils itself. Softly, completely. You are not your circumstances. You are not your mistakes. You are not the story the world told you. You are consciousness itself, infinite, eternal, divine. The body may change, the mind may wander, the seasons may pass, but that silent awareness behind your eyes, that stillness watching every rise and fall, that is God expressing through you. You were never meant to beg for light. You are the light. You were never meant to plead for love. You are love wearing the disguise of longing so that it could find itself again. You are not a beggar at the gates of heaven. You are a child of the Most High, heir to every promise, bearer of divine imagination, co-creator of reality itself. Do not wait for the world to be kind before you choose peace. Do not wait for the money to arrive before you feel abundant. Do not wait for the healing to appear before you believe you are whole. Begin now, speak now, live now, as the one who already is. Because the kingdom of heaven was never out there. It was always within, waiting for recognition, not permission. Close your eyes and imagine again that glass of water before you. See it glowing faintly, not from the room's light, but from your own consciousness shining through it. The surface ripples gently, your breath moving across it, like spirit moving over creation. In this moment, there is no separation. The water is not apart from you, it is of you. Every drop within it mirrors the same divine intelligence that flows through your veins. You are the ocean, pretending to be a wave. You are God, experiencing himself as human. Now lift that imagined glass in your mind. Whisper softly, "I and the divine are one." And as you drink it, see that truth flowing into every cell, every heartbeat, every thought. There is no longer an I and a thou, only one. One consciousness, one life, one infinite mind dreaming itself awake through you. That is awakening, not an event, but a recognition. A remembering that you were never lost, never broken, never separate. You are the prayer and the answer, the seeker and the sought, the drop in the sea, the word in the water. So rise, beloved soul. Walk in this truth. Speak your words not as a plea, but as a decree. Because when you speak now, you speak as creation itself, and the universe listens. Not because it must, but because it is you. And now, beloved soul, we have come to the end of this journey, but not the end of your awakening. Take a deep breath with me. Feel the stillness that surrounds you. That quiet presence is not silence. It is spirit, listening. I want to leave you with this blessing. May your words be pure, may your heart stay open, and may every drop of water you touch remember who you truly are. You are not learning to become divine, you are remembering your divinity. You are not asking for change, you are the change the universe has been waiting for. So tonight, speak gently to your water, let your voice carry faith, not fear. Let your breath become prayer. And as you drink, know this: the same power that set galaxies into motion now moves through your veins. It hears you. It answers you. It is you. If this truth spoke to your soul, if something deep within you remembered what it has always known, go now to the comments and write, "I am transformed," because when you declare it, you make it real. You signal to the universe that you are not waiting. You are becoming, and in that moment the law moves. The universe responds. The miracle begins. Before you go, take one last moment of gratitude for this teaching, for this breath, for this remembrance. If this message blessed you, share it, because every awakened mind helps awaken the world. Subscribe, like, and let this truth ripple outward so that others too may remember who they are. Now go, speak your truth into water, drink with faith, and watch your world transform. Peace be with you. And so it is.